PIA Chapter 1 Biology.
What is science? Think about it. One day, one person look around and think, where did all these plants and animals come from? How did I come to be? Well, let me tell you something. Since then, all humans have tried to respond all those questions in different ways. Some ways of explaining the phenomena of the world have stayed the same, but however, science is always changing. Science is an organized way of gathering and analyzing evidence about the natural world. It is also considered as a way of observing, a way of thinking, and a way of knowing. The knowledge of the science helps us in several ways, like cure diseases, place satellites in orbit, and send instantaneous electronic communications. You might think that the process of science is used by only a few people that can understand it, but it is not true. You use it every day in your daily life. Do not consider that. That is false. There is any single good and right scientific methodology, but however, there is a process that most scientists use called the scientific methodology. Scientific methodology involves observing and asking questions, making inferences and forming hypotheses, conduct controlled experiments, collecting and analyzing data, and drawing conclusions. The definitions of all these steps are very quite simple because observe and asking questions. What do you do? Observe and ask the questions about the experiment. Wow, that's so complicated. But there is in one step that you have to make that exception. That is, design the control experiment. Because in this you have to see two things. That is, the control variables and the control and experimental group. The control variables you have to focus on this because the variable that is deliberately changed is called the independent variable, and the variable that is observed and the change in response to the independent variable is called the dependent variable. And in the control and experimental group, is a control group is composed to the same conditions as the experimental group, except for one independent variable. And at the time to make the recording of data, there are two types of data that you have to consider: the qualitative data and the quantitative data. The qualitative data is the kind of data that you cannot count by numbers, and the quantitative is the one that you can. That's basically all. Now, where does those all ideas come from? Let me tell you something. Good scientists use several attitudes or good habits to make all those discoveries, like curiosity, skepticism, open-mindedness, and creativity. Finally, when you get all the scientific steps and do all the research, you have only to publish them. And to publish those information correctly, you have to use the peer review. Publishing peer review articles in scientific journals allow researchers to share ideas and to test and evaluate each other's work. That, my friends, makes you to do a scientific theory. But what is a scientific theory? In science, the word theory applies to as well-tested explanations that unifies a broad range of observations and hypotheses, and that enables scientists to make accurate predictions about new situations. You may say, what is the relationship between science and society? Like, how is this gonna help me? Well, let me tell you something. Science is related to society in all aspects: to develop technology, to build knowledge, to satisfy curiosity, to address issues, to inform policy, and to solve everyday problems. What characteristics do all living things share? Put to think. Think about all the stories, all the relays you have heard, and you may see that all those things are related in some way to biology. Biology is the study of life. But what is life? What What is the difference between the living things and the non-living things? This is where I told you. It is not as simple as you think. There are some main characteristics that distinguish very well to living things from non-living things, but it isn't like, well, living things breathe and non-living things don't. Kind of that, but not that. Those characteristics are like in very quiet words. Living things are made up of basic unit called cells, are also based on an universal genetic code. They obtain and use materials and energy, they grow and develop, they reproduce, they respond to their environment and change over time. All biological science are related between themes and methods of a story called big themes. Those are kind of the characteristic of living things, but it's not that. Those big ideas are cellular basis of life, information and heredity, matter and energy, growth, development and reproduction, homeostasis, evolution, structure and function, unity and diversity of life, interdependence in nature, and science as a way of knowing. Now, if you are one of those people that doesn't like biology and likes more math, I remember you that in biology there is also a thing that most scientists use to collect data and analyze information that is called the metric system. The metric system is a decimal system of measurement whose units are based on certain physical standards and are a scale of multiples of them. The more common metric systems are length, mass, volume, and temperature. And finally, but not least less important, is safety. Remember that careful preparation is the key of the safety in scientist activities.